Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. Sorry about last week, everybody. We had a power outage at the studio, and it went out 15 minutes before we started. Didn't come up to 15 minutes after 2 last week, and at that point we had trouble with the lights. Feasibly, we could have got up and running at about 2:30.
The lights.
You want to fix the lights now?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. On top of that, when we came in here and the power was out, and it was all dark in this room except for one little lamp. I don't know where you moved it since, I'm sure. And it was on, and and EK comes and sits down right in front of me and looks at me. He goes, "Man, you look stoned." And it's like, it's the allergies. It's the allergies. My eyes were all red, and I didn't want to do the show anyway. I thought about not doing the show anyway because I would have been chewing cough drops like crazy. I would have been sniffling a lot. And I'm not saying you're not going to hear any of that today, but I was hurting. The allergies always kill me every year. These plants, they blow their load all over us, and we're not supposed to react. We're not even supposed to get mad about it. And I got furious. I mean, I took a Claritin, and it dried me out so much that that I had a nosebleed. I sneezed, and then just... I was like, what? Friggin' pollen. The trees did this to us. The trees. Now, I'm not as mad at them as I am at horses, but... yeah, I wish there was a Scott view, like a camera in my eye, so you can see what I'm looking at.
Microphone's getting closer and closer.
Yeah, it was in and out of frame.
Still not on frame. That's what I'm focused on, is keeping it out of frame. That looks pretty good.
Yeah, so sorry about last week. Just wanted to put that out there. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. We got EK doing everything else, believe me. FXBG Public Radio. That was the thing as well. Is it's not like you could say, "Hey, Madman, why don't you just start up at 2:30 and go to 3:30?" It's like, number one, I got prior obligations. Number two, this studio has lots of different artists and stuff coming through. It's a busy schedule, So I'm booked 2 to 3 on Wednesdays, but there could be somebody coming in 3 to 4, and I got to skedaddle as soon as 3. That's sometimes when you say, "Oh, it's not a full hour," probably because I got to skedaddle. I like that word, skedaddle. People don't use it enough. Skedaddle. I'm going to bounce. Bounce is so stupid. You could use skedaddle.
Why bounce when you can skedaddle?
Why bounce when you can skedaddle? Okay, let me consult my notes here.
Pretty good lighting.
It looks good. Well, if you knock it over, then you're going to have to redo it. So this is a very professional operation we have going on here. Obviously.
You look good.
We do look good. We do look good. Are we going to have the news and everything going? By then? Okay. How about the pictures for the movies I'm going to be discussing? We're going to get those. And I want to do a final video.
Ready for them or no?
No. It'll be a little while. I got some rants to do before that. Speaking of which, there's things that show up in my notebook, like after I've been drinking, and I try to figure them out the next day. And here's 2 of them. Well, one I already figured out. But this one is I don't know, it's like, you ever had meme and you're just like, I had the best idea ever, and you wrote it down, and then you read it later, and it's like, oh, this is gibberish. I can't understand what I was thinking. I don't know why I thought it was the best idea I ever had. It was the funniest thing I ever thought of, But some things appear in my notebook, and it says, this phrase was in my notebook. It said, "Leave no beer unturned." Are we all right?
What happened?
I don't know, I had a flicker. I'm going to check the stream. So my point is,
Should be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. But, where was I? Oh, the beer. "Leave no beer unturned." It was just in quotes in my notebook, and I think I may have heard it on another podcast, and I was drinking, and I was like, "Oh, that's brilliant." Or maybe I thought of it, and I was like, "Oh, that's brilliant." I wrote it down. So these are kind of like miscellaneous notes about beer. Also, there's something recently that happened to me. Throughout my entire life, I'm getting into arguments with people about how much trash I generate because of beer cans. And people have told me over the years, it's like, why don't you crush the cans? Why don't you crush the cans, save space in the trash can? Get that air out of there. Save some space. Reduce your carbon footprint. You beer drinking jackass. And I'm just like, well, I don't have a can crusher. I don't have a can crusher. And then recently somebody said to me, what are you talking about, a can crusher? Crush it with your powerful mitts. What's wrong with you? And then it occurs to me that, oh, I'm strong, you know, and frequently I forget that, you know. Like EK and us, and we're moving some stuff around today, and I was remember there's a time you moved, and I was like picked up a whole bookcase or something like that, and you were like, "Oh my God, you're carrying that by yourself?" And look, even Superman forgets he has superpowers sometimes. All right, I forget that I'm strong, and so somebody told me, "Just what are you talking about? Buy a can crusher? Get just with your powerful ham hocks that you have attached to your body." I was like, "Oh, that's right, I'm strong." And so I've been doing that ever since. This was recent, like this year. Now I'm generating way less trash. Anyway, 2 miscellaneous notes about beer. Yeah, and leave no beer unturned. Fish kiss. Because you take the fish and you kiss it. Alrighty. I saw that The Godfather's for free to watch on YouTube. I didn't watch it this week because I've seen it so many times. And I was thinking about there's I think like 2 scenes, or maybe it's just 1 scene in each Godfather 1 and Godfather 2, where some mob boss gets a picture taken of him and he points. He's like, guy with a camera. And a couple of his goons go over and they take the camera, they break it, and they peel off some bills for the guy. There you go. No pictures of our mob boss. And I was wondering, you know, that took place like I guess in like the 40s, late 40s. Do mob bosses these days, are they like that? If they're like walking down the street and somebody's live streaming on Instagram Live and they think they get caught in somebody else's live stream and he's like, I'm a mob boss. Does he point? And a couple of his mooks come over. It's like, hey, they take somebody's phone. They have to take the case off, and then like they break it and peel off like $1,000 and throw it on the ground. Does that happen these days, or do you think mob bosses have like gotten cool with the concept of like, hey, I might end up on a live stream? Or do you think you could be like, Michael, make sure you tell your kids no live streaming in the house, no Instagram Live is allowed in the house. How many times I got to tell you about live streaming family business? And if you think about it, think about like what's his name, Hunter. I almost said Hunter S. Thompson. Hunter Biden, you know, and how public he was, you know, putting all this like recording, like all these pictures and information about himself and what he's doing out into the world. It almost seems like he's intentionally trying to embarrass his family, you know, and so it makes me wonder. It's like, how does the mob work these days? And you can't really just walk around the streets and say, hey, can I speak to somebody who's affiliated with the mafia? I'm just curious. Yeah, because, you know, mafiosos, they believe that, you know, there's genuinely just curious people. It's like, how do you guys work these days? Do you guys still bust up people's cameras if you take a picture of a mob boss? I don't know how it works. And if they said something to me like, yeah, have you seen The Sopranos? And I'll have to say no, because I haven't seen The Sopranos. And people tell me I'm making a mistake by not watching it. I don't know what that means, but I just wonder. It's like that's a good enough I don't know way to call people who are coming in. If you see The Sopranos, it's like, no, then you can't come in. We're not going to tell you how we deal with the information age as mobsters. I don't know. It just seems like. No, does anyone ever come home and say, I've been calling you all day, honey. Where have you been? And it's like, I was live streaming from the corner of this deli down in downtown Manhattan. And apparently I caught some mob boss in the background of my video, and a couple of his goons came up and took my phone. They let me keep the case. Smashed my iPhone. Gave me $1,000. Does that happen? I don't know. I think just maybe they just had to adapt. Learn how to hide in the shade even better. Anyway. I talk about mafia stuff because I have no idea how any of that works. How do you do that? Like crime. How do you wake up in the morning and say, gotta go do some crime today. Gotta stuff something up my butt just in case I get caught. People do that, you know. People do that. You ever watch those like police body cam videos? It's like they take somebody. There's like a big what looks like an MRI machine when they're in booking. That's to X-ray people to like see if there's any metal in their bum. Seriously. Anyway. Yeah, been recently getting back into the idea of doing how to man ups. How to man ups again. And I'm not stealing everything from Gavin McInnes. But today I want to talk about how to man up my brothers. Wear shoes. Wear shoes. Okay? I don't want to see any flip-flops. I don't want to see any Crocs. I don't want to see any slides, anything like that. All right, you're men now. You're men. Okay, you may be male, but you're not a man unless you're wearing shoes right now. All right? And let me tell you why. You know, the weather's warming up and everything. You know, people are excited. Spring's in the air and so forth. Everybody wants to wear shorts as soon as possible. And we've had some 70-plus days, almost like 80 a couple days ago. And people want to wear shorts. I get it. But, brothers, I should not see your nasty-ass toes. I don't want to see your feet. Men wear shoes. You want to be a man, you have to wear shoes. No slides, no Crocs, none of that bullshit. All right? As a man, you have to be ready to run. You have to be ready to fight. You have to be ready to do anything. And trust me, you don't want to be the guy that has to run after a purse snatcher and your flip-flops go flying in the air. Nobody looks good on Instagram Live like that. You certainly don't look masculine. Look, I'm not even saying you have to wear boots. I'm not even saying you have to wear steel-toe boots. All right? Not every man works around heavy equipment. I don't work around heavy equipment anymore, so I don't need to wear boots. But I'm wearing shoes. I prefer sneakers. I wear sneakers when I go to the beach. I may not wear socks, which is dangerous, so it's obviously old sneakers that I'm probably going to get rid of soon. Because you may have to run at the beach. And you're like, oh, madman, I'm a man. I could run barefoot. But do you really want to? Do you really want to? Some kid starts falling out of the 4th-story building. You got to be able to run. You don't want your Crocs shooting off into the street, breaking somebody's windshield. All right, because of all your giblets or whatever, the stuff you pin to your freaking shoes. That are not shoes. They're slides. They're girl shoes. They're slippers. They're stuff you wear at home. All right? But listen to me. The only time I am not wearing shoes is when I'm in the shower and when I'm sleeping. All right? Right now I'm wearing shoes. When I'm at home, in my pajamas, working on my computer, drinking beers, I have shoes on because somebody might say, oh, we need you to run, like this guy is beating up somebody in the front yard. I have to go outside and fight somebody. Plus, I got to go outside to smoke and stuff like that, so I take the shoes off. You want to be a man? Wear shoes. I don't want to see, I'm sick of seeing your feet. I'm sick of the feet. I'm sick of seeing your freaking toes. You know, I knew guys that were in the army, with their infantry, tip of the spear kind of guys in Iraq. And every single day after he got out of the army, he's wearing freaking flip-flops. It's like, dude, you are like G.I. Joe to me. You are my personal American hero. And you're wearing flip-flops. It's time to man up. Wear shoes like an adult. I'm sick of the feet. I'm sick of seeing people's feet. You know, women have the prettiest feet, and they are nasty. What is up with people and liking people's feet? I don't get it. Anyway. All right, you want to talk movies? So I saw a movie on Amazon Prime. You may not have seen it. It's called Parallel. It's a 2018 flick, and you really got to kind of hunt because there's apparently like 2 or 3 films called Parallel that came out in the last couple of years. Probably with all these like studios popping up on all these independent, filmmakers. You know, you get a lot of redundancy in terms of titles. So how to discuss this movie? It's basically like this. This shot right here. It's an infinity shot with mirrors, basically. Say you and your 3 of your best friends and a girlfriend of one of your friends stumble upon this old house, and inside you find a mirror, and in that mirror you can step into the mirror and enter the multiverse, enter a separate reality, very, very, very similar to the one you just left. And time goes by faster in there. So that, like every hour you spend in there is like 10 minutes back in the real world. And you can come back at any time. So you can go and interact with the world and like come back. All right. Now, without getting into any of the details of these characters and the relationships, because the movie, the plot of the movie is all about the characters and the relationships. So without ruining it, just imagine you and your three best friends and the girlfriend of one of your best friends. You stumble upon this gateway, this portal to the multiverse. What would you do with it? Would you go in there and see what would happen in the next few weeks? Make the right investments and so forth. And so in real world, you can start make yourself rich. You could do that. After all, there's only small little differences between all the multiverse realities, isn't it? Right? Or are you playing around with something you shouldn't be playing around with? And the relationships you can have. You can go in there and have like a Groundhog Day. There's some girl you like, and so you keep going into this reality, and you just keep trying to hit on her. Be like that day where Bill Murray is like tries to spend an entire day to sleep with Andy McDowell. He tries to spend an entire day to get the right combination of words and actions in order to unlock those drawers of hers. See what I'm saying? And that's kind of what you could do if you had a portal to the multiverse. And your imagination can run wild with what you could do with all those possible things at your fingertips, as it were. You and your friends. All right. You may have some questions about why it's there, why it exists in the way that it does. It's kind of interesting because the house they find it in is kind of like built around this portal. Anyway, you gotta see it to understand what I'm talking about. Now I don't want to ruin it for you, but here's my problem with this movie is that so many movies these days, like this movie Parallel, 2018 movie Parallel, there's not one character I like. Not one single character I like at all. And at the end of the day, you realize like, everybody's selfish, self-involved, and therefore evil. You know, if all you do is care for yourself, then you're evil. And it leaves a bad taste in my mouth when it comes to this movie. And so, when it comes to giving it a star rating, 7 of 13 stars. It would work better as like a Twilight Zone episode than a movie, and it's a shame. I wish we had like shows like Twilight Zone. Maybe we still do. It's just probably terrible. But I was thinking about like the old Twilight Zone episodes. It's like Rod Serling would go around to collect awesome sci-fi scripts and try to like condense them for a smaller, thing. And I mean. What's it called? A smaller venue, smaller program, shorter program. And I always thought that was like a really good way to tell a story. It's like, short, easy to digest. But when you get like to an hour and a half movie, 2-hour movie, and you're like, this episode of Twilight Zone should have ended a half hour ago. And that's the way you don't want to feel when you're watching a movie. It makes you not enjoy it. It's like, okay. And I was just talking to EK earlier about like the difference between Wyatt Earp and Tombstone. Those two movies. It's like Wyatt Earp is a good movie. It's just that you need to trim the fat. You could trim an hour out of that movie. Anyway, and Tombstone's obviously the better film. Anyway, I'm talking about this film Parallel. I talk about movies a lot. It's obvious because I like movies. I like cinema. I like hating on them. It's the best way to enjoy it. Either you like it and it's an awesome movie and you like it, or it's a mediocre movie and you can hate on it and to get your fun out on it that way. But 7 of 13 stars for Parallel, the 2018 movie Parallel, available on Amazon Prime. Like I said, it would work better as a Twilight Zone episode. Sweet infinity shot, though.
The cinematography.
Yeah, decent cinematography. Because I mean, when you have a story about like multiverses and parallel realities and stuff like that, I guess it's kind of tricky. It's like when they shot Groundhog Day. If they're shooting the same scene over and over again, it's like, it's slightly more overcast today than it was yesterday. You got to wait another day to get the lighting right. It must have been a pain in the ass. But at the same time, you're able. When you're talking about multiverses, you can do a lot of tricks with mirrors with your cinematography, make some interesting shots, cinematography shots. All right. The next movie I want to talk about is Downsizing, the 2017 movie Downsizing. Matt Damon. You can pull up that image whenever. You didn't like it? Okay. I was pleasantly surprised with this movie. It certainly didn't go anywhere I expected it to go. That's for sure. So Downsizing is a story about people. How to put it? Spitting up my cough drop. You can pull up that image when you get a chance. Okay. So basically, PIM tech goes worldwide. Shrinking technology becomes available to everyone, which I don't think would ever happen.
Which image is this?
The Downsizing image.
It doesn't appear.
It's not in there. No, shoot. Look at the last week's notes, if you can. There might be an image in there for Downsizing. My bad. All right, but PIM tech goes worldwide, and I just don't think people, whoever invents the shrinking is not going to make it publicly available to the world. That's just not the way that's not the way inventions work. All right, nobody invents the most brilliant, the perfect widget and gives it away for free. All right, it's like that movie The Saint, where it's like, I invented cold fusion and I'm going to give it to the world for free. That would never, ever happen. People are selfish. People are greedy. It's just not what would happen. And because you're downsizing, because people are shrinking, you can live on money for longer. Because when you eat a cheeseburger when you're 6 inches tall, you're eating way less cheese and burger. So people will downsize in order to save money. And when you downsize, you can live like in luxury in your little huge dollhouse. And that's what they do. People buy doll houses and they live on them. And they have these communities that are protected by domes because, you could be, snatched up by an eagle, eaten by a mole, by a snake. And this is why I don't think people would do it. All right. And so I watched this movie thinking that it's going to be something like that. It's going to be Matt Damon being chased around by a cat or something like that. And I thought that would be kind of a hilarious movie. Huh. But this movie didn't go anywhere I thought it was going. So he and his wife decided to downsize, Kristen Wiig, to save money, maybe live a little bit higher on the hog as a little tiny person. And during the process, she gets cold feet and backs out, and he gets shrunk, and she ends up divorcing him. And so he's now broke in the little people world, and he's got to get a regular job. All right. And back before, when he was a big person, he was the occupational therapist. He would go around, people would like, I get repetitive stress from always pulling this lever, And so he went to like 2 years of medical school. So he had some medical knowledge. And so he was doing something that he liked. And then he ended up being like a telemarketer when he got down to the little people area. And he's trying to date. He's having a hard time. He got divorced, and and, everyone else is living high on the hog, and he has this hilarious neighbor who is like barely a good person, like just on the edge of good person. But he's an obnoxious dick every other time, all the other times, right? What was his name? Guston or something like that? Bouchon. That's it. Bouchon. Played by, what's his name? Christoph Waltz. Fantastic in everything he does. But Matt Damon, he ends up running into this Vietnamese girl who has like a prosthetic leg, and he sees how she's walking on it, and it's like, just by looking at it, I know that's a problem. So he goes and tries to help her, tries to fix her, adjust her foot so she doesn't get things don't get worse for her. And then just by talking to her, she's an interesting character as well. She speaks in broken English, but she's very matter of fact. Like, my roommate died. It happened. My roommate died. I'm go on. I go work. It's very matter of fact. She's kind of a funny character. But he ends up helping her as she goes around collecting food from people that everyone's throwing out. She takes them to this the ghetto of the downsized world and gives it to people who are can't walk. She's helping people in her neighborhood. She's got 1 foot herself, helping other people. And Matt Damon, because he has some medical knowledge, he comes down there and there's people who need medical attention, and he has enough knowledge that he can provide some sort of treatment for them. And he starts getting into doing that. And then you're like, oh, okay, this movie has kind of an interesting turn. I like where it's going. Then all of a sudden, hard left turn, and you're going into like some Swedish cult of downsized people who want to go underground for the next 3,000 years or something like that, because they think the world's coming to an end. And Matt Damon wants to go in with them. And you're like, where did this plot line come out of? Was there an argument in the writer's room where they're like, oh, I want it to be about this plot line? And they don't want to be. Why can't it be both, fellas? Why can't it be both? And then they leave this cult. They eventually talk Matt Damon out of not going, right? And they go back home, and he goes about like helping feed and medically treat these people in the poor side of this rich area, this rich little people place, and finding enjoyment in the simple pleasures of life of helping others. And I think that was kind of what the point of the movie was getting at, is that, a life lived for others is the best possible life to live.
The best way to downsize is to stop living for yourself.
Best way to downsize is to start living for yourself. Stop living for yourself. Yeah. And I think that's wise. The movie is kind of silly. I kept waiting for a cat to like come out and just snatch somebody up. It's always, it should have happened. If I had written that movie, that would have happened at least once. Like a vole burrows his way into the community, like goes on a rampage. Going from mansion to mansion, dollhouse to dollhouse, eating people out of jacuzzis. That would have been a way better movie. Why didn't you let me write this? Why don't you come to me, Hollywood? Let me fix everything for you. But Downsizing, 9 of 13 stars. Yeah, not many people would give up the power of going from a big person to a little person, because when you're like this tall, you are incredibly weak. All right, if you go to the gym, you can't be proud about. It's like I was benching 14 ounces. Yeah, maxed out at 14 ounces. You're just more powerful as a big person. People won't willingly shrink. Doesn't make sense. I think that's why this movie was panned. A lot of people didn't like it. I thought the message was good. I thought it was a really weird way to go about getting that message out there, but yeah, 9 of 13 stars. Has Matt Damon in it, so. All right, let's get into the news worth knowing. Did you see that final video thing I have at the end?
Yeah, we'll have to get to that.
1-4? Okay. Not stealing everything from Gavin McInnes, okay? But just happens today, we need a visual aid on the last one, so. All right, let's talk news. Let's talk about this Israel-Iran thing. Nothing will remain, quote unquote. Iran's president vows to completely destroy Israel if it launches tiniest invasion. Best of luck with that, Tehran. Iran's president vowed to completely destroy Israel. It's only been 2 days since they've last vowed to completely destroy Israel. Should it proceed with even the tiniest invasion of its country? Well, that's pretty specific. Shooting missiles is not an invasion, is it? How about if Israel just sent a bunch of illegal immigrants across your border? Take a playbook out of China's. So President Ibrahim Raisi spoke Wednesday at an annual army parade, warning Israel of a massive and harsh response, quote unquote, as the country braces for potential Israeli retaliation after Iran's missile and drone attack over the weekend. Iran launched hundreds of missiles and drones at Israel on Saturday in response to an apparent strike on Iran's embassy compound in Syria on April 1st that killed 12 people, including 2 Iranian generals. Iran blames Israel for the attack, although Israel has not claimed any involvement. They haven't said they didn't. And it may not have been them. It could have been us. But I doubt it. You think Jill Biden signed over on that? No. So Raisi said Saturday's attack was a limited one, but that if Iran was provoked to carry out a bigger attack, nothing would remain of the Zionist regime. official IRNA news agency reported. Considering after what we saw this past weekend, I really don't think that Israel's worried.
Nobody afraid of you?
Yeah, it's like you were shooting. It was like you were shooting Roman candles at Israel. It was sad. It was pathetic. You know, and I'm not saying that. It's like you're holding a kid's head, you know, and he's swinging wildly at you, and you're just like, I don't know. I don't think Israel's scared. So on Saturday, Israel, with the help of the U.S., the United Kingdom, and Jordan, and other nations, successfully intercepted nearly every missile and drone that Iran launched. Israel boasted 99% success rate through the use of its Iron Dome and David Sling system. That is a cool weapon system name. David Sling system. Spittle. Israel has vowed to respond, however, without providing additional details on how and when. The Jewish country's military council met on Tuesday to decide the future action, which was, while its allies have urged all sides to avoid further escalation. Israel and Iran have waged a shadow war for decades, obviously. With the war coming to a head over the past few months as Iran has supported Hamas, which carried out the deadliest terror attack in Israel's history on October 7th of last year. Saturday's attack was the first direct Iranian military attack on Israel. So that's what's unprecedented. Iran's like officially in it. But I mean, everyone should know that Iran funds Hamas, Hezbollah, the pirates, the Somali pirates, what are they called? I forget. They fund all of them. They're proxies. It's how it works, you know. And I'm sure, you know, if that's the best Iran had to offer, what they shot at Israel over the past weekend, no one's worried. And I don't think that Israel wants to invade Iran. I don't think anybody wants that to happen. I don't think Israel wants that to happen. Retaliation, sure, but right now they got to deal with Hamas. They got Hamas on the ropes, and they're probably going to deal with that threat first. Deal with Iran later, because you know they're dealing with the symptom. Iran's the source of the problem. Anyway, and you could say it's Islam, radical Islam. It's the source of the problem. Anyway, so we got to mention it. It's the biggest thing happening in the world, and because the U.S. has been so weak on the foreign stage, Joe Biden's a joke to the world. Yeah, bad people in the world are starting to act up, and that's a problem. All right, let's talk about Trump a little bit. Trumpdate. Excused juror reveals selection process for Trump's hush money trial. Quote, not a fan. A potential juror in former Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York City spoke to the media shortly after she was excused from the pool, highlighting the serious mood inside the courtroom. You know, everyone that went to that is probably just aching as soon as they get excused. It's like, hey, I just got excused. Any press people here? I want to talk about it. I guarantee you every one of them talked to a journalist. I guarantee you. And they, like, this is the most interesting one. Potential juror in blah, blah, blah. In Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York, spoke to the media after being excused, highlighting the serious mood inside the courtroom. Definitely serious. Potential juror Kara McGee, who works in cybersecurity, said on Tuesday, everyone was really taking it upon themselves to step in and do civic duty here, regardless of what people came into thinking about the defendant. McGee said that she told the court that she could serve as a juror in an unbiased manner. She told the court she could serve as a juror in an unbiased manner, while noting in her comment to the media that it would be very difficult for anyone really in this country to not come to this without prior opinions. Yes. Yes. Have you ever heard of Donald Trump before? Yeah. You're excused. It's like you, people want to say like he can't get a fair trial in Manhattan, and I'm just like, I don't think he can get a fair trial anywhere. You know, everyone knows who he is. Okay, she went on to say, we all have prior opinions of the defendant unless you have been living in a card box. What? Unless you have been living in a card box, she said. I'm kind of glad she was excused. She's an idiot. McGee said she was excused from the jury pool due to scheduling conflicts with her employment in cybersecurity. She's kind of cute. like a 6. I'm not a fan, McGee added of her personal thoughts on Trump. During COVID-19, I lived with someone who was immunocompromised, and I think his handling of COVID-19 was abysmal. Fair enough. The trial kicked off Monday with a pool of 96 jurors, before roughly 50 were excused on the first days. How many of you are here because you hate Trump? All right, you guys can get out of here. At least pretend like you don't hate Trump. All right, the rest of you are pretending like you don't hate Trump. These are New Yorkers. All right, so an additional 9 were moved on Monday. Of that pool, an estimated 35 candidates remained on Tuesday morning, with 14 of those excused by early Tuesday afternoon. McGee said of the 2 questions asked of the powerful jurors, most clearly indicated how they felt about Trump and the case. One of which is, do you have opinions about the ability of the former sitting president to be tried in a court of law? Which I think is the way people answered that showed how they felt about the case. Do you have opinions about the ability of a former sitting president to be tried in a court of law? That's a decent question to ask. The other question was, do you have any opinions about the legal limits for campaign finance donation amounts? Which I believe was the other one, was kind of meant to gauge your feelings about the particular case. McGee said she did make eye contact with Trump as she was excused from the trial. He looked at me. He saw me. He looked in my eyes. I looked at him after he had finished giving the final answer. I glanced over to him again and made eye contact with him. I had no idea what he thought at the moment. You're not even psychic? You're not psychic and they don't put you in, and you're on a jury? I thought they only had psychics in the jury. You had to be psychic to be in the jury. Now oh my God. People who don't know have sentenced into innocent people. Our justice system's a sham. I'm sorry. I'm in a weird mood today. Tuesday is the second day of the trial, the hush money case, which makes it the first time the former president stood trial on criminal charges. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg announced last year that Trump was charged with 34 counts of falsifying business records. The charges stem from the 2016 election cycle, when former Trump attorney Michael Cohen paid former pornographic actor Stormy Daniels $130,000 to allegedly silence her claims that she had an extramarital affair with Trump back in 2006. Does he get that money back? He should get that money back. The prosecutor said the Trump organization reimbursed Cohen for the payments to Daniels and falsely recorded the payments as legal expenses. Prosecutors are working to prove that Trump falsified his records with the intent to commit or conceal a second crime, which is a felony. Trump has repeatedly denied the affair and pleaded not guilty to the charges. Trump spoke to the media earlier Tuesday morning ahead of entering the courtroom, where he rallied against the presiding judge, Juan Merchan, as a conflicted judge. We have a Trump-hating judge. We have a judge who shouldn't be on a case. He's totally conflicted. But this is a trial. It should never happen, frankly. It should have been thrown out a long time ago. Trump said on Tuesday morning. It's a trial that's being looked upon and looked all over the world. They're looking at it, analyzing it. Every legal pundit, every legal scholar says the trial is a disgrace. No. A lot of them are liars, but not every legal pundit is in agreement. Those who don't think this is a sham and a disgrace are liars. Are what they call ideologically captured. The trial is anticipated for the last 6 weeks, with jury selection expected to last at least a week. Yeah, they're going to draw this out all the way to the election. I guarantee it. What's funny is that I think that the Democrats think this is going to hurt him. Like, he's not going to be able to campaign if he's in court. He has to be in court all the time. He has to be in Manhattan. He can't leave Manhattan or something like that. But the media is going to cover the trial. And so he could just sit on his butt in that courtroom in Manhattan, and that would be his campaign speeches. You know what I mean? Because they'll watch him like they watched the OJ trial, and everyone's going to be sitting there like, this case is such BS. It's nonsense. He should get that money back. He shouldn't have cheated on his wife. I get it. But how long have we known about this? It just happened to be this year. They wanted to get it all done. The timing seems real interesting. As a drummer, timing is important to me, and I think timing says everything in this regard. Holy cow. 241. Let's speed it right along here. The next story. Lindsey Graham says Department of Homeland Security told him Laken Riley's alleged murderer was paroled into the U.S. illegally. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, posted on social media that the Department of Homeland Security confirmed to him that Laken Riley's alleged murderer was paroled into the U.S. illegally because the Central Processing Center in El Paso, Texas, was capped. Out in the West Texas town of El Paso. Jose Ibarra, an illegal immigrant from Venezuela, had been charged with the murder of Riley. The 22-year-old Augusta University nursing student was killed February 22nd while jogging at the University of Georgia in Athens. I used to think Atlanta was a bad town. Athens is getting pretty bad, too. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement confirmed to Fox News Digital previously that U.S. Customs and Border Protection encountered Ibarra on September 18th of 2022, and he was paroled and released for further processing. Now Graham has found out more about Ibarra's release. DHS just confirmed to me that the man charged with Laken Riley's murder was paroled into the U.S. illegally due to detention capacity at the Central Processing Center in El Paso, Texas. Graham posted to X on Tuesday. He wasn't granted parole because he provided a significant benefit to the country or they had a humanitarian need, as the law requires. Graham also accused the Biden administration of breaking the law at the expense of innocent Americans. Yes. The Department of Homeland Security did not immediately respond to inquiries from Fox News Digital seeking additional information about the claim. ICE previously stated Ibarra had been arrested by the New York Police Department a year after being paroled on September 14, 2023, and was charged with acting in a manner to injure a child less than 17 and a motor vehicle license violation. The agency later corrected the record, saying he was arrested August 31st, 2023. Riley was found dead in February after previously attending the UGA before attending a nursing program at Augusta Athens campus, where she made the dean's list. Police have charged Ibarra with malice murder, felony murder, aggravated battery, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, kidnapping, hindering a 911 call, and concealing the death of another person. I guess he may get, 2 weeks. Knowing the justice system. No psychics on the jury? Really? How can you be certain? If you have no psychics on the jury. All right, let's talk about L.A. Let's go to the left coast. L.A. mayor pleads for wealthy to help buy housing for the homeless. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass pleaded with the most fortunate to help fund housing for the homeless as part of a new strategy to tackle the crisis during her State of the City address on Monday. We will not hide people, but we will do is house people. The Democratic leader touted as she began her remarks to the city's struggle to house over 40,000 homeless people. The crisis on our streets is nothing less than a disaster. Bass touted the success of our signature Inside Safe program, which moved over 21,000 homeless people into temporary shelters, according to the Associated Press. She insisted the strategy and system moving the homeless to temporary housing would eventually end the homelessness crisis in Los Angeles. Okay. Acknowledging the costliness of this endeavor, Bass asked the wealthy to help speed up the process of purchasing housing for the homeless. Right now, we're working to move past nightly rentals, she continued. We are asking the most fortunate Angelinos to participate in this effort with personal, private sector, and philanthropic funds. Help us acquire more properties, lower the cost of capital, and speed up housing. This is the mission of the new capital campaign, LA for LA. You know, this is like somebody who overcharges you for dinner. And they automatically add a 15% gratuity, you know. All those people who are still living in Los Angeles, those who have money, probably voted for these idiot people. You know, all those taxes they've all been paying. There's lots and lots and lots of people in LA, even still. All right, all those taxes the taxpayers have paid into your coffers. Los Angeles and all those counties and cities and all those taxes you've been collecting. What have you been doing with it? What in the world have you been doing with it where you still got to turn to rich people and say, hey, could you spring for some houses for all the homeless people? Apparently the money we've collected from you already, we haven't been able to handle this problem. Well, we can't handle the problem without, I don't know, arresting homeless people. I don't know, throwing them in mental asylums, forcing them into drug treatment. We can't do that. Can't do that. We got to give them free. We got to give them free heroin. We got to give them free needles. We got to give them a free place to shoot up and destroy their lives. You know, we got to give them free food. Got to give them free housing. Could you cough that up, rich people? Where are you going? What's with the U-Haul vans? Why so many? Why is there a for sale sign outside? You're going to Texas, you say? You're moving to Florida, you say? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how long places like LA and New York are going to last. Anyway, let's get into two more happier stories, and then we'll get out of here. Armed man on a Scottish train. A Scottish man. I want to try to, like, get the reveal. Here we go. There was a man on the train to Dundee for decon. Ah, damn it. I guess I got to read the story. I won't hide the reveal. Armed man on Scottish train turned out to be a Star Wars Stormtrooper. Scottish man dressed as a Star Wars character caused a brief stir on a train after it was falsely reported that he was armed. He was on the train to Dundee for decon. This is a quote. I was on the train to Dundee for decon in my Stormtrooper costume, wrote a man known as the Grampian Stormtrooper on Facebook April 6th. On the page, Grampian Stormtrooper described himself as a Stormtrooper with a Scottish twist. As someone who regularly attends the conventions or cons dressed as a Stormtrooper armor and kilt. That's awesome. Decon, where Grampian Stormtrooper was headed, was held on April 6th at the University of Dundee in Scotland, says its website. The train stopped shortly after it left the station, and a guard came out to chat, he said. Came out to chat, asking about the blaster. The guard then asked Grampian Stormtrooper to get off the train for a chat. Apparently someone reported it to the police, and the train went back to Aberdeen, he wrote. Met by two firearms officers, three Police Scotland officers, two British Transit police, and they had to chat with him on the train and then in the office. Grampian Stormtrooper then was told to return home for a bag for his blaster. He also said he was asked not to wear the Stormtrooper armor on the train. Aw, crazy world we live in, he said, noting that he'd been wearing the costume on trains and buses for 10 years with no issues. The British Transport Police, which patrols the railways in Scotland, England, and Wales, confirmed the incident to Fox News Digital. Quote, officers received reports of a man with a firearm entering the Aberdeen station just before 9 a.m. on Saturday, April 6th. British spokesperson for the British Transit Police told Fox News Digital by email. Come on! Come on!
Dressed as Han.
You should have dressed as Han, but that's what I mean. It's like not everybody can pull off a Han Solo. You know what I mean? Not everyone looks good in a vest. You know what I mean? You know, yeah, here's the thing. Is it just that the Stormtrooper costume is truly scary? Or is it the fact that or is it the sad fact that there's people who have never seen Star Wars? I think that's the sadder fact. It's like, if you don't recognize that that's a character from a movie, and if you are not even, like, slightly aware that there's some sort of thing called, like, conventions where nerds get together and dress up as their favorite characters, if you don't know that kind of thing exists, you shouldn't be surprised to see a Stormtrooper on a train, even if you live in Scotland. You know, I know you probably had a lot of drinks. It's 9 a.m. after all. I'm scared. That man over there has a gun. What do we do? What sort of armor is that? There's an alien. Hello, 999. Is this the police? There's a bloke on. He's got a gun. Or is it just that guns are so rare in Scotland and England that people like freak out even like if one looks like one? Something looks like one. Were you able to pull up that video?
I'm going to try to do it in real time.
Okay. Well, Ryan is sad that he doesn't have a dad. His daddy ran away when he found out he was gay. But Gavin's all right, and the show is pretty tight. So we will end the show with the final video. But first, we're going to give you a little background on the story. I'm not stealing everything from Gavin McInnes. Police officer goes viral after tackling pig during neighborhood escapade. Utah police officer recently went viral for hilarious footage showing him pursuing a stubborn pig last week. Oh, the jokes write themselves. Footage that racked up nearly 3 million views on Facebook shows Grantville, Utah police officer Corey Cooper and eventually tackling an obstinate female pig. The animal was heard squealing and her legs dangling as he picked her up to carry her off screen. So we can try. Let's see the video. Let's see what it looks like. The final video. I'm not going to do this every week. All right? It's just so happens that this you kind of need to see it to believe it, because it's like, I don't know. It's kind of like a paradox. It's like when he finally catches the pig, you're like, he should be. I don't know. It should be like a Hadron Collider just turned on or something like that. Should be like some sort of vortex. Something should happen.
I think I got it here.
You think you got it? Excuse me. I told you, still not 100% dealing with these allergies. Okay.
Screen capture and...
Try new methods every day. What's that joke you told him? It's like, what's the most important thing in comedy?
What's the most important thing?
Timing.
In show business.
Timing. Oh, I did tell her right?
What's the most important thing in show business?
What's the most important thing in show business? The timing.
Yeah. Alright, let's see here. I'm going to have to hide you.
Anything more in this article?
There we go. I got it.
Alrighty. Pig catches pig. He got you! You got him! Is there audio?
There might have been. It's just not playing through.
Oh, okay. Because
It's playing through.
the person rolled down the window to laugh at him. To make sure he heard him laughing
It's
at him.
playing again. I've got the audio going.
That's fine. Oh, that's great. You know, it's hilarious because it has to be done. You know? You can't allow pigs to, like,
It's funny to hear
get
the
wild.
pig squealing.
Oh, yeah, he's squealing like crazy.
He's in his mind.
I know. It's got to be done. You can't let the pigs go wild, because wild pigs are a serious problem. You know, and so it has to be done. And as if you're a cop and you're going through the neighborhood, you're following up on this call, and you're just like, damn it, there's like, everyone's got a camera in their pocket. Why couldn't the wildlife guy have gotten here first? You know, why couldn't the animal control guy? Now I got to go out and chase this pig. And somebody's going to catch it on film, and it's a joke that writes itself. Man. And this poor guy, Corey Cooper, was a poor bloke who had to go and catch a pig. You know that, right? You know you can't have, like, pigs get wild. They'll, like, destroy crops, destroy buildings. They're pigs. Anyway, I want to remind you, I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron. I would appreciate it. You can also send me money with the Cash App. Use the cash tag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. You can also follow me on social media over here. Denalt's on Twitter, shockmonkeyradio Redux on Facebook, and at slrobbins13 on Instagram. I also have books available for digital download. Search for the author Scott L. Robbins with 2 T's and 2 B's on Amazon. And get those books for digital download. You can also follow the links down in the description below. This has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman. I love you.